cEDH Sisay deck review. So this deck's commander is Sisay Weatherlight Captain. It costs 2 and 1 white mana for a 2/2, which reads Sisay Weatherlight Captain gets +1/+1 for each color among other legendary permanents you control. She also says, pay Wooburg, search your library for a legendary permanent with CMC less than Sisay's power. Put that card onto the battlefield, then search your library. So the main goal of this deck is to get Sisay and Gigantha, the Wellspring, out. Gigantha is our companion. So because of her restrictions, we have to give up stuff like Force of Will and Force of Negation. So this does mean that we have less interaction, but there's a lot of interaction which isn't free, which we still play, so we should still be able to stop our opponents from winning. Once we get these two out, we can activate Sisay to get Derevi, to then untap Gigantha. Then we activate Sisay again to get Samet. Then we go to combat and attack with Derevi. This then and we use a trigger to untap Gigantha. And then we activate Sisay again to get Najeela the Blade Blossom. So every combat we'll be untapping Gigantha. Then we can use that 5 mana to activate Najeela to get infinite combat steps and infinite warriors to kill our opponents. So that's how we win. And now let's talk about how we get there. So we won a lot of storm spells, or spells which make a lot of mana. These include Dockside Extortionist, which only costs 2 mana and can make a lot more, sometimes even 9 or 10, if your opponents have enough artifacts. Elvish Spirit Guide and Druoga Tree Speaker, Orcish Lumberjack, Simian Spirit Guide, Tinderwall, and Treasonous Ogre. These are all cost 1 or 2 mana, or in the case of Ogre, 4, and make a lot more. This can give us the mana to execute our combo. It's basically a 0-card combo, but it does take 11 mana and requires haste. We run a lot of mana box to help us get here. These include all 5 talismans, all 3 Moxen, Grim Monolith, Basalt Monolith, Mana Crypt, and Lotus Petal. Because we run so many mana box, we also run Isochron Scepter and Dramatic Reversal as our backup line, just in case our main line gets countered or removed. Since Gigantha is our companion, if she is removed, we cannot get her back, since the only recursion in this deck is Yawgmoth's Will, and Corpse Dance and Goryo's Vengeance. So with only 3 ways to recur Gigantha, we need to use a backup plan. Another sub-strategy we have is Wheel of Fortune and Windfall combined with Notion Thief. So if we flash out Notion Thief in response to a Wheel of Fortune, each of our opponents will discard their hands and we will draw 21 cards. This should win us the game. We also have a lot of ways to protect our combo. This includes Silence, Veil of Summer, Deflecting Swat to get rid of removal or to put removal onto another target, Autumn's Veil, and Apostle's Blessing. We can use these cards to stop interaction from our opponents when we go for the combo win. We can also use Goryo's Vengeance and Corpse Dance to bring back either Sisay or Gigantha from the grave after they are removed. Noxious Revival is another way we can bring back Gigantha, so then we could try again next turn. A combo you can toss in, but a combo which I thought was a little too clunky, is Mystical Tutor, Isochron Scepter, and Nexus of Fate. Let's look at our counter spells. We want Fierce Guardianship, Flusterstorm, Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast, Miscast, Mental Misstep, Pact of Negation, Spell Pierce, Swan Song, and Silence as a pseudo counterspell. Silence isn't an actual counterspell, but you can cast it in response to an opponent's tutor to essentially counter their spells for the rest of the turn. These help us survive while our opponents are trying to win. So, since our deck is a little bit slower than the other decks, we need to be able to interact until we can win. Now let's look at our tutors. We don't run as many tutors as the typical cEDH deck because our combo does not need to be tutored for, but we can tutor for rituals like Treasonous Ogre. So these tutors include Wishclaw Talisman, and Worldly Tutor, Mystical Tutor, and Imperial Seal, and Demonic Tutor. These are all ways we can search up Treasonous Ogre or another combo piece to go for the win. Now let's look at card draw. We have Sylvan Library, Mystic Study, and Mystic Remora as ways we can draw cards. Now let's look at some sample mulligans. So let's look at this first hand. We can crack Flooded Strand to find a black source, to then cast Imperial Seal to maybe tutor Mana Crypt, and then we can cast Mana Crypt on the next turn to get Sisay on turn 2. Or we can tutor Icecrown Scepter, but to combo with a Dramatic Reversal, but that won't really get us anywhere. So I think we're in Mulligan's hand. So let's look at our next hand. We can tutor a Forest to then put Orcish Lumberjack on the field. Turn 2, we could sacrifice a Forest to get 3 mana, and then tap our second land to cast Treasonous Ogre. We can then make 3 mana to put Giganta in our hand. And then on turn 3, we can get the mana to cast both Sisay and Giganta. Then on turn 4, we can go for the win. Since we have a Possible's Blessing as protection, I would keep this hand. The next hand has Sandstone Needle. So turn 1, we could cast Sandstone Needle and then pass. The next turn, we could cast Felmore Stone into a Brainstorm, which can help soothe out our draws. We do have tutors, and we do have Wheel of Fortune, just in case we don't get anything good off of Brainstorm. So I would keep this hand. This next hand has a land and it has a lot of ramp. So like I said before, this deck doesn't need any extra cards to combo. So what I would do is I would cast Mox Diamond, discarding City of Brass, tap the Mox Diamond to cast Soul Ring, tap the Soul Ring, cast Talisman of Impulse, tap the Talisman to cast Droga Tree Speaker. Now it is only turn 1 and you already have insane amounts of mana. Now let's look at our last and final hand. So this hand has a turn 1 Sisay. It also has Card Draw and Treasonous Ogre. It even has a turn 1 Treasonous Ogre, if that's the route you want to go. This hand is very versatile and flexible. It has Card Draw, a way to protect our combo, and a tutor. I would keep this hand. I hope I gave you a good view of a Sisay Weatherlight Captain cEDH deck. I'd recommend looking at the main primer for more information.